All right. Let me call to order the March 6, 2023 City of Hood River Planning Commission meeting. My name is Mark Frost and I will be presiding tonight as the chair of the Planning Commission. I note that there is a quorum of the Planning Commission present. So let me start with asking the Planning Director for an update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For those in the audience and you all here, this is our first hybrid meeting and first in-person meeting since 2019. So I'd like to welcome you all back to the analog world. Just real quick, if you would, 5 of you or 5 of 7 of you have never been in person. So I felt like it would be just a good opportunity for you all to introduce yourselves and how long you've been on the Planning Commission and anything just about you. So some of this is 2 of you, this is your first meeting, and a couple of you have never seen each other in person. So that would be a quick once over, would be helpful before we kick things off. The other portion, 2 other things, sent out a notice regarding education opportunity, fundamentals of land use planning. A couple of you have responded back. If you want to do that, it is March 15th, 6 to 8 p.m. It's a virtual meeting. One of our cohorts in the planning field will be leading it, and I'll do some volunteer work for that. So we have an opportunity to get some education if you see fit. So I encourage you to sign up for that. We'll cover it and we'll be there as well as staff. And then last minute asked to Heights redevelopment project, urban renewal agency has been working on a streetscape design for 12th and 13th for the Heights. It's one of the city's largest planning related projects. That project is now in it's going to kick off its 3rd phase, which is the development of a preferred plan. And that will we'll see some work coming out on April 20th to the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee, and the second and then on April 24th, we'll be presenting some information to the Urban Renewal Advisory Board. So those will be the 2 next public facing elements that we'll see. Those meetings are going to focus on intersection design, refinements to our preferred concept, and some other detailed findings that we've had since the concept was done.
Is there information available of the current state?
No.
The design alternatives or what the
there's
proposed design is?
The completion of phase 2 and all those materials are on the Urban Renewal and Project website right now. So there's been nothing new since we completed phase 2 that has been developed, but the entire project is, and the documents produced for the Urban Renewal Agency are all available online.
Okay. And we have a planning commissioner participating. Is that right? Is it?
Yeah.
You. Okay. I was remembering one of us. Yep.
Yes, nothing significant to.
Thanks.
April 20th will be the next kind of public facing aspect that your representative will see as well. And that's all I have.
Okay, so we'll go down the line and make some introductions.
Again, this is our first opportunity seeing each other in 3 years other than outside. So I figured it would be helpful for the audience and maybe you all to meet.
Let's do that. And if you could start at that end and turn on your mic. Okay.
My name's Zach Lytle. Been in Hood River 3 years this summer. Currently, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I think I'm the newest addition to the commission here. But anyways, my professional background is in planning, land development, housing, and also doing demonstration projects for various planning efforts like the 12th and 13th Street project. That's kind of where I last worked, but it's been a few years. But yeah, exciting. I'm excited to be a part of this.
My name is Ben Mitchell. I've lived in Hood River for 13 years. I used to be a reporter for the Hood River News, so covered a whole bunch of different land use issues during my time there. But now I work for Mount Hood Meadows, so I can spend time on the planning commission. And yeah, I just really love this town and want to, see good things happen.
Good evening. My name is Mari Ruth Petzing. I want to apologize. I actually work until 5:30 on Mondays, so this in-person meeting thing is less convenient, but it's great to actually see people. I have been in Hood River about 7 years. In my professional life, I'm an attorney with Oregon Law Center, Civil Legal Aid. And I've been on the Planning Commission for like a year and a bit.
So I'm Mark Frost. I've been on the planning commission now 1.5 tours, I think, so maybe 6 years. And I've been in here in Hood River for about 16 years. Before I came to Hood River, I was working as a practicing architect in Portland. And since then I joined the field of technology. So I've been coming back to the world of design profession through my planning commission role here. Been good.
Hello, my name is Bill Irving. I've been a planning commissioner, I think since maybe 2009, so a while. For a lot of different planning staff and the planning director change. I moved to Hood River in 1989, so a long time ago. My day job is real estate agent. Primarily, I have experience in real estate development and construction. So.
Hi, my name is Kate Hoffman. I've been on the planning commission for not quite a year, I don't think. And I've lived in Hood River. It'll be 10 years in the Gorge, 10 years in April. I'm a legal assistant at my day job for a public defense law firm here in town. And I also had served on the Hood River Affordable Housing Task Force. And as mentioned, I'm the planning commission member of the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee.
Hi, my name is Bonifacio Romero. I was born and raised here, so I've been here since 1990. I'm fresh to the commission, so just looking to be of help and add my 2 cents, and hopefully Hood River continues to grow sustainably.
All right, thanks, everyone. All right, with that, I would like to get to the next item on the agenda, which is a public hearing to review an appeal by Margot Blosser of a 3-unit town home project proposed by EM Architecture LLC on behalf of Christopher Corwin, Planning Department file number 2022-25. I'd like to open the March 6, 2023 hearing of the Hood River Planning Commission to review Planning Department file 2022-25. Before we begin hearing oral testimony, the owner of the proposed townhome project submitted a written request to continue tonight's hearing to April 3rd, 2023, and an extension of the 120-day clock to April 14th, so that it may prepare and submit revised plans for their proposed street improvements. The Planning Commission is obligated to grant this request for a continuance. I'd like to know if there's anyone in the audience, including those watching on the video conference or listening by phone, who would like to submit testimony tonight and cannot participate on April 3rd, when we are expected to review the updated application materials. So for those watching on the video conference or listening by phone, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom or press *9 on your phone. I know we have Margot Blosser has put her name on the list.
Okay, neither counsel or applicant.
And Margot, you'd like to speak tonight?
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, you can do that too. Yep.
Well,
Okay.
Well, okay, we have, since we have people wanting to speak, Carrie, do you have any, you want to present testimony or do you have anything procedurally?
No, I just wanted to present testimony.
Okay,
Okay, so we'll move forward with opening the hearing then. So let me begin with a description of tonight's process and a few disclosures required by state law. Tonight, the function of the Planning Commission is to review the record for the application, take public testimony, and determine whether the application meets or does not meet the applicable approval criteria. It is not our job to be more restrictive or lenient than these approval standards allow, but rather to interpret and apply the approval standards as written. If you have any question about the applicability of the approval criteria, they are outlined in the staff report issued prior to tonight's hearing. The Planning Commission is required to render an impartial decision. This means that we cannot have a personal financial stake or bias that would prevent us from making an impartial decision. Before we begin, I will call for the disclosure of bias, ex parte contact, and conflicts of interest from each commissioner. Anyone in the audience will then have the opportunity to question any of us about these disclosures. Once rendered, our decision will be final unless appealed to City Council. To appeal our decision, you must participate either orally or in writing before the record closes. You must raise before us any issue you might wish to preserve or subsequent appeal to City Council or LUBA, the Land Use Board of Appeals. You must also present to us any evidence you might wish the City Council or LUBA to see. Once we close the record on an item, that will end your ability to raise new issues or present evidence. So let me describe the order of events for tonight's hearing. First, we will hear from staff. Second, we will hear from the applicant and anyone who has comments or testimony in response to the continuance request. Third, we will hear from anyone who has substantive testimony on the merits of the application and appeal, so that can't be held until the continuance meeting. Finally, the commission will vote on the continuance request. Here are some basic rules for presenting testimony in tonight's hearing. Please present testimony in the order that I just recited when called upon by the chair. Begin with your name and mailing address. Please limit your testimony to the applicable approval criteria. Our decisions are governed quite strictly by those approval criteria, so you should tailor your testimony to those criteria. Those are the only issues we can take into consideration. If you believe that other or different criteria apply, please identify those and explain why you think they apply. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence with sufficient specificity to allow us or the parties to respond to the issue will preclude an appeal to the City Council or LUBA based on that issue. And failure by the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues related to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow us to respond to the issue will preclude an action for damages in circuit court. Finally, we may set time limits on the presentation of tonight's testimony, although there's no limitation on written arguments that may be submitted. So that is a procedural introduction for tonight's hearing. If anyone has any questions about the process as we go forward, please ask them during the public testimony portion of the meeting. So if you have questions about the procedure, please let us know, raise your hand on video conference using the raise hand feature or press *9 on your phone. So now we will consider the appeal of the planning director's decision to approve a minor partition for a 3-unit townhome project by EM Architecture LLC on behalf of Christopher Corrin, Planning Department, file number 2022-25. A quorum of the Planning Commission is present, and I will now ask all commissioners to disclose any ex parte contact, conflicts of interest, or bias in this matter. I can start at, well, let me start here and then we'll spread out.
I have no bias, no ex parte contact. Sorry, no bias, no ex parte contact, and no conflict of interest.
I too have none of those things.
I also do not have any of those three.
I have no bias and no conflict of interest. I did drive on Eugene Street, and I guess my observations were that cardinal directions are iffy for me. Give me a moment. So there's definitely more pavement to the south than there is to the north in the sections to the east and west of the parcel. But to the west, there is some additional pavement to the north, were my personal observations.
I have no bias or conflicts of interest or financial stake.
Yeah, I have none of the three.
All right, thank you. So I have no bias, conflicts of interest, and I too did visit the site this afternoon just to see in the same way that Mary Ruth was talking about the location of the road. It was clear to me that as development has occurred up and down that road, that the road line has essentially moved to the south. And so I was very interested in seeing the alignment around that. There's a pretty significant retaining wall just up the hill, which is to the west, which is sort of reset where that edge of that road is. Okay, so let me move on. Would anyone in the audience like to question any commissioner on any disclosure, ex parte contact, bias, or conflict of interest, or otherwise challenge the participation of any commissioner? All right, seeing none, would any commissioner like to make a motion to disqualify any other commissioner from hearing this application? Seeing none, may we have the staff report, please? Kevin.
Thank you, Chair Frost and commissioners. As you know, staff processed an application for a 3-unit townhouse project, including a minor partition on property located at the southeastern corner of the intersection of East Eugene and East 3rd Street. Historically, the site was addressed as 501 East 3rd Street, also known as 3N 10 East 36 AB Tax Lot 7200. The property is zoned urban high-density residential, R3. Townhouse projects for residential use that include 3 or fewer townhouses are listed as permitted uses in the R3 zone, subject to conformance with zoning requirements specified in Chapter 17.19 of the zoning ordinance. Section 17.19.030 also requires townhouse projects to be reviewed for conformance with the land division provisions in Title 16 of the municipal code. This townhouse project includes proposed improvements on the site and also in the public right-of-way for East Eugene Street. Staff's decision, known as an administrative action, lists applicable standards and criteria and includes findings describing how the proposal meets standards and criteria, as well as conditions of approval. That decision is now subject to an appeal. Rights to an appeal are explained in section 17.09.070 of the zoning ordinance. Appeals of administrative actions are heard de novo before the Planning Commission. De novo means that parties may submit new evidence and testimony to the commission. On February 27th, I sent out a 2-page memo accompanying the appeal application. Written testimony with supporting exhibits submitted by the appellant and her attorney, labeled as attachments M and N, and the administrative decision for the townhouse project. No other written testimony has been received since that memo was prepared. After the memo was prepared, however, the owner of the property and the developer of the townhouse project, Chris Corwin, contacted me and explained his engineer is working on a revised plan for improvements to East Eugene Street adjacent to the site. Chris requested a continuance of tonight's hearing to April 3rd and also extended the 120-day clock. That's the statutory time limit, final action to be taken on the application. That extension is to April 14th. The city attorney advises us that the Planning Commission must grant this continuance. To remain consistent with procedural requirements, the hearing needs to be continued to a specific date, time, and place. In this case, again, April 3rd, beginning not earlier than 5:30 p.m. in the council chambers here at City Hall. It would be good for everyone to check their calendars to make sure we have a quorum available on April 3rd. Based on advice from the city attorney, my comments for this evening should be focused on the continuance request, but expect to provide more information to you on April 3rd or at the next hearing. For now, are there any questions about the continuance request or this process that I can help with? If none, thank you very much.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'll ask if anyone has any substantive testimony on the merits of the appeal that can't be held until the continuance hearing on April 3rd. If you need to speak now, we will listen, we will take your testimony. Margot, you are first on the list. And do we have, do we have raised hands in the queue? Am I right in thinking that the applicant is not going to make any testimony tonight? Kevin?
He hasn't.
Thank you. Thank you, Margot. You may begin. Do we need to turn on her mic?
Please,
Yep.
please, you got it.
Magic spot, okay. Good evening, Planning Commission members. My name is Margot Blosser and I reside at 423 East 3rd Street. I've lived there for over 25 years. That's directly to the north of the Corwin townhouses. Because of the history of the accidents on this section of East Eugene, the lack of a guardrail and that no geotechnical report has been submitted for the right-of-way, it was important to get the opinions of licensed professional engineers that have specialized licenses in traffic safety and geotechnical engineering and slope stability. This created a lot of documentation, but it's important to have facts to work with. So I wanted to take this opportunity to point out the important parts of the documents that we have provided. As I stated in my comments, there have been 2 accidents involving my property. In 2000, on a Sunday morning, I was woken up by a loud noise. I looked out my window to see that a car had come over the embankment and landed in my yard. In a separate incident, I was told by my elderly neighbor, Clarence Olmsted, that my house had been hit by a car. The damage showed up in my house inspection report. Because of the accidents, the city installed cement barriers at the intersection of East Eugene and East 3rd. We have not had any problems with cars hitting my house or landing in my yard since the cement barriers went in place. The 2022 plans for road improvements by Pioneer Surveying and Engineering, PSE, has several shortcomings that make it hard to see how they to provide the conceptual framework for a safe road design for the final engineered road improvement. The PSE road improvement plan said that the trees would remain. They showed a retaining wall without a footing that would be located in the drip line of the trees. The geotechnical engineer, Cynthia Hovid, stated that the retaining wall would likely require the trees to be removed. She also said that if the trees were removed, the roots of the trees would have to be dug out and replaced with structural fill. Otherwise, they would rot and leave large cavities in the road. The PSE road design would have westbound traffic driving on the edge of a 6-foot drop-off without a shoulder to allow drivers a margin of error or a guardrail to keep cars from going over the edge of the embankment. If the edge of the road is shifted 5.7 feet to the north as proposed by the PSE plans, this would push traffic into the street parking adjacent to 218 East Eugene. That's the map that I showed you, what I'm trying to speak to right now. And make road alignment issues worse by pushing the travel lane straight towards the grove of trees near East Second. On many occasions, I have watched westbound cars pause and realize they must swerve to the left to avoid the change in grade and the grove of trees. Pushing traffic to the north 5.27 feet will only worsen this alignment issue. Presumably because of the shortcomings of the PSC plans, in late December, we were told that a new version of the road design was being developed by Mr. Corrin's engineers and would be completed in early February. We spent over 2 months checking in to see if the new plans were available. The plans still have not been provided. We also reached out to Mr. Corrin in June 2022 regarding road safety and tree protection, but he never responded. Because we were not provided revised road plans in February, we had the certified traffic engineer Musad Sabian evaluate the city engineer's statements about moving improvements to the south and east. Musad looked at traffic safety, street parking, parking at the carport at 309 East Eugene, road alignment, and my ability to back out of my driveway. The traffic engineer agreed with the city engineer that the improvements could be moved to the south and to the east safely. He added that if the utility pole on the eastern side of the Corrin property was removed, as the 2019 City of Hood River Design Review stated, traffic would not travel too close to the carport and street parking at 309 East Eugene. Road alignment and my ability to back out of my driveway would be maintained. As you can see from the letter from many of the neighborhood residents, the trees are part of the neighborhood character that we want to be preserved. We have tried to be clear with the language of the 3 conditions that were written for the appeal, but they are easier to understand if you look at the map. Each condition was written to reflect the city engineer's statement that the improvements can be moved to the south 2 feet in the vicinity of the trees, and that the retaining wall could be shifted to the east. The city engineer's comment will make a huge difference for the road safety and for tree protection. It is important to note that besides neighborhood character, the trees provide a safety barrier to keep cars from landing in my yard, which has happened on 2 separate occasions. I provided a map for you with approximate location to show you graphically what the conditions state. That's for you to review at your convenience. So I want to be clear, we're not asking the Planning Commission to decide whether the specifics of the engineering design should be what they should be, whether the eastern utility pole should be removed or if a guardrail should be required. Because the preliminary road improvement plans have several shortcomings. Sorry. We are asking for assurances that road safety and neighborhood character will have adequate protection with these 3 conditions. Thank you for listening to our concerns.
All right, thank you, Margot. Okay, are we gonna go to somebody online?
I think we have Carrie ready to say something.
Gary?
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
live.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Frost and Commission members. My name is Carrie Richter. I'm an attorney at Bateman Seidel. My office address is 1000 Southwest Broadway Street, Portland, Oregon, 97205. You've received a letter from me, and I know that we're going to get a revised road plan, so I don't want to get too far afield. But I want to point out a couple of things. The first thing is that this is going to be Ms. Blosser's only opportunity to have a dialogue with the city and with the applicant about how this road will be improved. And so we can't wait until the city engineer designs a road, because at that point, Ms. Blosser won't be part of the conversation. And as she has expressed, cars have landed in her yard. So, and I hope that those of you who have made a site visit or haven't yet made a site visit will make a site visit so you can see the slope differential right about 2.5 feet off the edge of the pavement there is about 6 feet between the road surface and her yard. So it's really important that we are deliberate about this. And it is in that effort of deliberation that Ms. Blosser has retained expert traffic engineer and hired an arborist to look at the condition of the trees. And so as I understand it, the applicant is putting together a revised road plan. And my hope is that this revised road plan will show the existing conditions, including the top of the bank, because there's the top of the bank and then there's the trees, and the trees are helping stabilize the slope. And so if the trees go away, the slope is exposed and there's more grading and more retaining walls that are necessary. So we need to know exactly where the top of the bank is. We need to know exactly where the trees are, and we need to know what the tree protection area or the drip line are. And so that's what we are hoping that this plan will produce with respect to existing conditions. With respect to the proposed improvements, it's not just the edge of the pavement that we need to know, but we need to know the shoulder too, and we need to know exactly how much grading will be necessary in order to make these improvements. We need to know where the retaining wall is going to be exactly, because as those who have made a site visit probably saw, Ms. Blosser takes access off East Eugene on a driveway that is located in the right of way. And in order to be able to back up and get onto that sort of frontage road, if you will, she has to be able to back up there. And if there's a retaining wall, new grading, expanding the road right away for East Eugene, road improvement for East Eugene, that'll interfere with her ability to get access. So we need to know exactly where any retaining wall will be so that she is able to use her existing access. So those are the things that we're hoping will come out of this road plan. I wanted to point out 2 quick things about the staff decision. And if the applicant produces a plan, which we understand they will, and the plan addresses the tree protection and the access issues, which we are hopeful that it will, then there won't be any need for any further discussion about conditions. But in the event that there is a need for further conditions, it's important for the Planning Commission to understand that what we're asking for is not that dissimilar from what staff has identified already. Staff has identified the need to protect existing trees. And in condition 3H, which the staff decisions sets forth, it says, per HRMC, trees within the right-of-way shall remain and be protected during all construction activities. So assuming that we're talking about the trees in the right-of-way on the north side of East Eugene Street, they will be protected during all construction activities and they will remain. So if that were the end of the sentence, perhaps that would be acceptable. But then the sentence goes on to, then the condition goes on to say the applicant shall hire an ISA certified arborist to consult and produce an arborist report for the existing street trees in the right of way. The arborist report shall establish criteria for protection during construction, trimming, and removal or retention. The word removal is a little troubling there because it suggests that this arborist might identify circumstances when the trees could need to be removed. And what we have already produced is an ISO certified arborist report that says the trees are in good health and shouldn't need to be removed. And so what we have proposed in our conditions is like an obligation that the trees will be protected. The trees shall remain as staff has set forth in condition 3H. The road engineer also anticipates improvements can be shifted south approximately 2 feet. And this is really what we're hoping the revised plan will show is a road shifted 2 feet further south, because it is our belief that if that happens, the trees will be able to be preserved. The retaining wall will be able to move further to the east, protecting the existing access for Ms. Blosser and alleviate a lot of her concerns. And if you look at the staff report on page 15, where the staff talks about the need for a 20-foot wide improved East Eugene set obligation, says a 20-foot wide paved street is inconsistent with the city standards for local street, which typically requires a minimum pavement width of 28 feet. But 20 feet is the minimum width necessary to support two-way vehicular traffic pursuant to code section 1612.020F. And the design will be consistent with improvements serving properties in the vicinity along East Eugene Street. So this suggests to us anyway, that staff agrees that existing improvements serving as access for Ms. Blosser and the other homes on the north side of East Eugene from this little frontage road are entitled to their preserved existing access. And so it is from that perspective that we have proposed conditions that provide for the protection of this existing access in the event that we don't get the road plan that we're expecting to get. So I just wanted to take that opportunity to try to explain our position a little bit. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any. If not, I look forward to reviewing the revised road plan in advance of the next hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, I appreciate both Carrie and Margot for your testimony this evening. So with that, then we're going to, yeah, go ahead. Oh. Would you like to just turn on the microphone and state your name and address, and then we'll get you on the record?
I was serve and support Margot. Anyway, I live directly east. And right now, while talking to the Planning Commission, I understood that the road south was not going to be affected at all. But if it is, we have a driveway that supports one car, and it's already so short that it sticks out probably to right where the telephone pole is that they want to remove. So I just want to take that into consideration as well, that I don't want to lose any of our driveway, which is extremely small as it is.
Appreciate that. I just,
Yeah, Colleen O'Donnell. 309 East Eugene.
all right.
Just want to get that on the record.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so with that then, what we'll do next is we will ask the Planning Commission to make a motion to continue the hearing on this appeal for file number 2022-25 to a date certain, April 3rd, 2023, beginning no earlier than 5:30 p.m. to be held at council chambers at Hood River City Hall. And so the record is kept open for submission of evidence between now and April 13th, April 3rd, I'm sorry.
Chair Frost, also just wanted to double check, make sure we've got a quorum available that night. Looks good. Thank you.
Okay, looks like we have a quorum. Okay, somebody like to make a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we continue file number 2022-25 until April 3rd, no earlier than 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
All right, so Commissioner Irving has made a motion and Bonifacio Try your last name as seconded. Okay, any further discussion? All right, let's go for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, seeing no nays, the motion is passed. All right, thank you for your time. Appreciate you coming down to testify today. We have a couple more items that we're going to finish up this evening on. So that's the closure of that, or we have a continuance, but that's closure of that part of the evening. Okay,
So just a couple other small items. In the past, the commission has used a planning chair. It's not an obligatory position, but
Vice Chair.
Oh, vice chair. The chair is obligatory. A vice chair is stylistically your choice, whether you want to have someone assume that position or rotate it in case the chair is not available. It's really up to you. We will manage one way or another, but if so, again, if it's the commission's pleasure, you can have that as a seated position, or we could simply deal with it as need be. It's really up to you. We can talk about it next time if you want to think about it. Really,
Anybody want to step forward and take the role of the vice chair? If I am on vacation, cannot make the meeting. It's no big stress. The minutes are, well, not minutes, the speaker notes are provided. Thoughts?
I would say I don't mind being available to do it as needed. Kevin has contacted me in the past and I see if I'm available and said yes.
Okay, so we'll leave it unofficial for now. If somebody wants to be a chair in training, let me know, and we'll vote on that next time.
And then
Okay.
all we have from here is the last set of minutes from October.
Yep, and I went through those. Any issues did anyone see with the meetings from October 17th? Okay, I will take a motion then to approve those.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from October 17th, 2022, as they were presented to the commission.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion passes. All right, appreciate your time this evening. We will see you. There's no meeting on March, whatever the March is, 2 weeks from today. Okay,
April 3rd.
April 3rd it is. Thanks for your time, everyone. Welcome aboard. Yeah, that's okay. You around?
I may or may not.
Okay,
I might have to be a Zoom participant
okay,
for childcare.
that works. If you have any questions on role or readiness or any of that type of stuff, let us know. Dustin and I are here to help.
Yeah, please. If you do have questions, again, some of you have some educational information coming forward. And again, I encourage you to if you have the opportunity to do the fundamentals class, we'll pick that up as a part of your training. It's a good investment in your time. So. just
All
let me
right.
know.
If I had a gavel, I would hit it. It is now 6:13 PM. Why don't we have gavels up here? All right.